My name is Emily Bennett, and I have been married to Daniel for a decade. It was a life of simple pleasures and unspoken understanding, far from the madding crowd and, thankfully, from my mother-in-law, Margaret. Our separation by miles did little to affect the respect and care we held for each other, a testament to the bonds we nurtured over time. Our days rolled into years, marked by the laughter of our daughter, Sophie, and the small joys of family life. I was the unseen wheel keeping our family cart rolling, especially when it came to managing our finances. Daniel, a hardworking architect, had the weight of the world on his shoulders, and I did my best to lighten his burden. One such responsibility was ensuring his mother, now retired and plagued by chronic back pain, was well taken care of financially. "Hey, Emily, did you remember to transfer this month's money to Mom?" Daniel would often ask in his gentle tone, his eyes reflecting a blend of hope and concern. "Of course, Daniel, it's all taken care of." "Don't you worry," I would respond with a reassuring smile. It was our little ritual, a reminder of the trust and partnership that defined our marriage. Daniel's visits to Margaret were his monthly pilgrimages, a son's duty and love intertwined in those journeys. He would return with stories of her, how she was managing her pain, her little garden, and her unyielding spirit. It painted a picture of a woman I had grown to admire from afar. Our life, though not extravagant, was filled with enough love and warmth to make it feel like the richest of treasures. Little did I know that this tranquil harmony was soon to be disrupted, uprooted by a storm that was brewing in the distance, invisible to my naive eyes. The day began like any other in the Bennett household. Sophie was buzzing around, readying herself for school, while Daniel prepared for his trip to see his mother, Margaret. It was a routine we'd all grown accustomed to. Little did I know, this particular day was destined to shatter the tranquility of our lives. Daniel returned earlier than usual, his footsteps heavy, his face a canvas of contorted emotions. The door slammed shut with a force that echoed through the hallways, a prelude to the storm that was about to unleash. "What the hell, Emily? What have you done?" Daniel's voice thundered, his eyes burning with an intensity I had never seen before. I stood there frozen, my mind racing to comprehend the sudden change in him. "Daniel, what's wrong? Why are you so upset?" His words poured out like a torrent, each one a piercing arrow. "All this time I've been scraping and saving to send money to Mom, and you just didn't care." I was flabbergasted, my heart pounding in my chest. "Daniel, what are you talking about?" "I've been transferring the money every month, just like we agreed." He paced the room, his anger seemingly growing with each step. "It's not about the money, Emily. It's about trust, about caring. Mom is struggling because she hasn't been receiving any money, and you're just here, living comfortably." His accusations were like a noose tightening around my neck. I had been diligent and meticulous in handling our finances, ensuring that his mother was never neglected. "I did send it. Daniel, please let's sit down and sort this out calmly." "How can I be calm when my mother is suffering?" His voice broke, revealing a vulnerability I had seldom seen. The conversation spiraled, with accusations and misunderstandings tangling into a web too complex to unravel. It dawned on me that this was not just about the money. It was a chasm of unspoken grievances, of expectations and disappointments that had been simmering beneath the surface. As the argument reached its crescendo, Daniel's words cut through the chaos, leaving a wound too deep to heal. "I want a divorce, Emily. I can't be with someone who makes my mother suffer," he said. The world seemed to stop spinning at that moment. The words hung in the air, a sentence that threatened to undo everything we had built together. In the silence that followed, I realized that there was no going back, no words that could bridge the gulf that had opened between us. With a heavy heart, I gathered my thoughts, my voice barely a whisper. "If that's what you want, Daniel, then divorce it is." In the aftermath of Daniel's declaration, our home, once a haven of love and laughter, transformed into a cold, unrecognizable place. The word divorce echoed in my mind, a relentless reminder of the crumbling world around me. I watched, as if from a distance, Daniel's preparations for the separation. It was methodical, almost mechanical, as if our decade-long marriage was nothing but a contract coming to an end. I felt a pang of sorrow for Sophie, who, caught in the crossfire of our collapsing marriage, looked to me for answers I didn't have. "Mommy, why is Daddy so angry? Are we not going to live with him anymore?" Sophie's innocent questions were daggers to my heart. I wrapped her in my arms, my eyes brimming with tears I fought to hold back. "It's going to be okay, sweetheart," I whispered, my voice tinged with a sadness I couldn't hide. "Sometimes grown-ups have to make hard decisions, but remember, I'm here for you. Always." The day I left our home with Sophie's hand tightly clasped in mine was the day a part of me shattered. Daniel watched in silence, his face an unreadable mask, as we walked away from the life we had built together. I sought refuge in my parents' house, a place that once symbolized childhood and carefree days, now a shelter from the storm raging in my life. My parents enveloped us in their unconditional love, their concern, a soothing balm to our wounded hearts. As days turned into weeks, I found solace in the routine of daily life, in the laughter of Sophie. As she slowly adapted to her new world, the laughter of Sophie faded away. But the scars of betrayal and hurt lay beneath the surface, a constant companion in my solitary moments. Then one day the phone rang, shattering the fragile peace I had begun to build. It was Daniel, his voice a strange mix of confusion and desperation. "Emily, something weird is happening," he said, his words a puzzle I wasn't sure I wanted to solve. "Why are you calling me, Daniel?" "We're strangers now," I replied, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside me. He paused as if weighing his words. "I've been sending the money to Mom myself, but she says she hasn't received it." A myriad of emotions coursed through me. Vindication, anger, but mostly a deep sense of sadness for the misunderstanding that had torn our family apart. "Maybe you're sending it to the wrong person," I suggested, a part of me unwilling to dive back into the chaos of his life. "No, I'm sure of it. The bank statements show the withdrawals." I don't understand what's happening. His confusion mirrored my own. A part of me yearned to help, to unravel this mystery that had so unfairly upended our lives. Yet another part of me recoiled, wary of stepping back into a world that had caused so much pain. After a moment's hesitation, I made a decision, one that would lead me down a path of discovery and confrontation, a journey to seek the truth that had been hidden in the shadows of our seemingly perfect life. The decision to confront the enigma surrounding the missing money was not an easy one, but the need for truth and closure propelled me forward. I arranged to meet Daniel at Margaret's house, a setting once familiar and welcoming, now laden with apprehension. The drive there was a journey through a torrent of emotions. Beside me, Daniel was silent, his gaze fixed on the road, lost in his thoughts. The air was thick with unsaid words, the distance between us more than just physical. Margaret's house, once a symbol of familial warmth, stood before us, its facade hiding the secrets we were about to uncover. We were greeted by Daniel's sister, Laura, her surprise at seeing me evident in her eyes. "Why are you here, Emily?" Laura asked, her voice tinged with suspicion. "We're here to figure out what's happening with the money," Daniel interjected, his tone firm. Margaret welcomed us, her demeanor a mix of confusion and concern. The conversation was awkward, the undercurrents of tension palpable. Daniel cut to the chase, his voice a blend of frustration and desperation. "Mom, we need to see your bank records. We need to understand why you're not receiving the money I've been sending." Margaret hesitated, a flicker of something in her expression. A flicker of something unreadable crossed her face. "There's nothing to see. The money just isn't there," Laura interjected. "You can't just demand to see her bank records. That's private." But the stakes were too high, and our need for answers outweighed the protocols of privacy. With a resigned sigh, Margaret retrieved her bank book, her hands trembling slightly. The entries told a story that none of us expected. Each transaction was a piece of the puzzle. Deposits from Daniel followed by immediate withdrawals. A pattern too consistent to be a coincidence. "It's always been withdrawn the next day," I noted, my mind racing to piece together the implications. Margaret explained that since her back pain had worsened, Laura had been managing her bank visits. The revelation hit us like a wave, and all eyes turned to Laura. "I don't know anything about this," she stammered, her facade crumbling under the weight of our scrutiny. But the evidence was irrefutable. Laura had been withdrawing the money, a betrayal that cut deep into the family's heart. The confrontation that followed was a maelstrom of emotions, anger, disbelief, and a profound sense of betrayal. Margaret's heartache was palpable as she grappled with the realization of her daughter's deceit. Daniel, too, was shaken, his world upended by the revelation. In the midst of the chaos, I found a strange sense of vindication. The truth had finally emerged, clearing my name, but leaving in its wake a trail of familial discord. As we left Margaret's house, the weight of the day's revelations hung heavy on our shoulders. The drive back was a silent reflection on the complex web of relationships and the fragile nature of trust. The truth had set me free, but it had also unraveled a family, leaving behind a tangle of emotions and unanswered questions. In this chapter, Emily and Daniel confront the reality of the situation, leading to the revelation of Laura's actions. The narrative focuses on the emotional impact of this discovery and sets the stage for the ensuing fallout. Please let me know if this chapter aligns with your vision for the story, or if there are any modifications you'd like before we proceed to the next chapter. The fallout from the revelation at Margaret's house left profound impact. In the quiet of my parents' home, I mulled over the events, the layers of deception unraveling before my eyes. Laura's betrayal was not just a theft of money, it was a theft of trust, a wound that would take a long time to heal. Despite the clarity the truth brought, it did little to ease the bitterness of the accusations Daniel had hurled at me. There was no apology, no acknowledgement of the pain his words had caused. It was a silence that spoke volumes, a chasm that had widened beyond repair. In the ensuing days, I watched Daniel grapple with the aftermath. He seemed torn between familial loyalty and the harsh reality of his sister's actions. It was a struggle that kept him distant, lost in a world of his own. Our interactions were minimal, strained by the layers of hurt and misunderstanding. The bond we once shared seemed irreparably damaged. The bond we once shared, seemingly unbreakable, now lay in fragments, a reminder of what could have been. One afternoon, as I sat in the garden watching Sophie play, Daniel approached, his demeanor hesitant. "Emily, I need to talk to you." I looked up, my heart heavy. "What is it, Daniel?" He shifted uncomfortably, his eyes avoiding mine. "About Laura. I know she was wrong, but she's still my sister. I can't just turn my back on her." The words stung, a stark contrast to the coldness he had shown me. "And what about us, Daniel? What about the hurt you caused?" He sighed, a sound of weariness and regret. "I know I should have handled things differently. But it's complicated, Emily. Family is complicated." I watched him struggle with his words, torn between his loyalties. It was a struggle I no longer wished to be a part of. "Daniel, you made your choice and I have made mine. It's time for us to move on, separately." The conversation was a closure, not the kind I had hoped for, but a closure nonetheless. It was an acceptance of the fact that some wounds were too deep to heal, that some bridges were too damaged to be rebuilt. As Daniel walked away, I felt a sense of finality, a chapter closing in the book of our lives. It was a chapter filled with love, pain, and ultimately betrayal. A chapter that had taught me the hard lessons of trust and forgiveness. In the solitude of the garden, with Sophie's laughter as a backdrop, I realized that this was not the end, but the beginning of a new journey. A journey of healing, of finding strength in the broken places, and of moving forward with grace and dignity. The days that followed were a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. I, Emily Bennett, found myself on a path of self-recovery, weaving together the broken pieces of my past into a tapestry of newfound strength and independence. Sophie became my beacon of hope, her innocent laughter and boundless curiosity, a constant reminder of the beauty that still existed in the world. Together, we built a life rich in love and simplicity, far from the complexities and betrayals of the past. As the seasons changed, so did the rhythm of our lives. I found solace in the stock market, an interest I had nurtured quietly over the years. It became more than just a financial endeavor. It was a symbol of my capability and independence. Against all odds, I flourished, turning small investments into significant returns, securing a comfortable future for Sophie and myself. Meanwhile, Daniel's life took a different turn. Laura's actions had left a deep scar in the family, one that was not easily healed despite his attempts to support her. Laura's irresponsible habits continued, her dependence on Daniel growing with each passing day. Margaret, caught in the crossfire of her children's turmoil, struggled to find peace. The family home, once a haven of joy and togetherness, now echoed with the remnants of a bond broken by mistrust and misunderstanding. As for me, the wounds of the past slowly turned into scars, reminders of a life once lived and lessons learned. I watched Sophie grow into a bright-spirited child, her resilience a mirror of my own. Our small apartment became a cocoon of safety and growth, a place where laughter echoed off the walls and dreams were nurtured. We were a world unto ourselves, complete and content in our solitude. Occasionally, I would hear snippets of Daniel's life, of the challenges he faced and the choices he made, but they were like distant echoes, a part of a life I had left behind. I had moved on, not with resentment or anger, but with a quiet acceptance of the impermanence of things. In this new chapter of my life, I found a sense of peace and fulfillment. It was not the life I had envisioned, but it was a life I had built with my own two hands, a life filled with love, strength, and the promise of new beginnings. The months turned into years, and life for Sophie and me settled into a comfortable rhythm. Our world, though small, was filled with the kind of happiness that comes from within, untouched by the chaos of the past. Then, out of the blue, Daniel reached out again. His call was unexpected, a ripple disturbing the calm waters of our lives. His voice, once so familiar, now sounded distant and foreign. "Emily, I need your help," he said, his words hesitant. I took a deep breath, steadying myself against the surge of emotions. "Daniel, why would you think I would help you after everything?" He was silent for a moment. "I know I have no right to ask, but I'm desperate. Laura's debts have spiraled out of control, and I'm struggling to keep everything afloat." His words were a stark reminder of the life I had left behind. "Daniel, that's your journey, not mine. You chose this path. But Emily, we were a family once. Doesn't that count for something?" There was a plea in his voice, a hint of the man I once knew. I closed my eyes, letting the memories wash over me. "We were a family, Daniel, but that time is gone. You made your choices and I made mine." The conversation that followed was a dance of unspoken words and hidden emotions. Daniel's request for financial help was met with a firm but gentle refusal. It was not out of spite, but out of a need to protect the life I had built for Sophie and myself. As I ended the call, I felt a sense of closure, a final chapter in the book of our shared past. It was a bittersweet moment, tinged with the sadness of what had been lost, but also with the relief of being free from the burdens of the past. In the days that followed, I heard through mutual friends that Daniel's situation had worsened. Despite his best efforts, he was unable to pull Laura out of her financial abyss. The family home had to be sold, and they moved into a smaller, more modest dwelling. But in my world, life blossomed for Sophie and me. Sophie grew into a bright, independent young woman. Her spirit was a reflection of the strength and love that surrounded her. Our home was a haven, a place where dreams were nurtured, and the past was just a story that had shaped us. In the quiet of the night, as I looked out at the city lights, I realized that life had come full circle. The pain and struggles had transformed into wisdom and strength. I had found peace in letting go, in understanding that some ties are meant to be untied. This journey, though filled with heartache, had led me to a place of understanding and acceptance. I had learned that sometimes the hardest battles lead to the most beautiful destinations. And so, with a heart full of gratitude for the lessons learned and the love shared, I closed the door on the past and stepped into a future filled with hope and endless possibilities.